Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ginger Broderick, and I'm the host of the Ginger New York TV show. Welcome to our show this Friday afternoon. We're live every Friday afternoon here at M&N TV Studios on West 59th Street in New York City, and we also do live streaming all around the world. So thank you, all my friends and family that tune in every week and check out what's going on. And today is really exciting because we have a lot of Broadway talent. We got a great performance for you, so you don't want to leave us. You want to stay for the host show. And I want to thank my crew that's in the control room, and we got Rasheem here taking photographs, so make sure you check out our Facebook page and website for all the things that are happening on Ginger New York. So today is what I call Broadway on Ginger New York, and I have a great writer and producer and music director and everything with the upcoming musical called Ghostlight, the musical, correct? And this is Tim Realbuto and Matthew Martin. Yeah, welcome to the show. And
thank you.
We have a great cast of like amazing Broadway actors and Broadway talent and upcoming talent, and everybody's talented.
It's so true.
It really is.
We're very lucky.
Wow. How did you two meet?
We knew each other from when we were about 3 years old.
Oh, good heavens.
Very small, yeah.
Almost look like brothers. Are you?
We are not brothers.
We're not brothers.
You're not
We've
brothers.
been
That's great,
we've been best friends since
good for you.
childhood.
And you're all like actors yourself, and you do music instruction and vocal instruction. And how did this whole program of Ghostlights come about?
I was reading an article, God, 6 years ago now. It seems like forever ago, but I was reading an article called "The Ghosts of Broadway," and it was about the ghosts that haunt various Broadway theaters. I'd never really heard about it before, and one particular name kept popping up, and it was the name Olive Thomas, who haunts the New Amsterdam that Disney currently owns. And I brought the article to Tim, and I thought there was something there, and didn't really hear anything. About a week later, he sent me a text about Olive, and everything just escalated from there.
And how long did it take for you to write this whole score? I mean, you wrote the...
Originally about 6 months.
6 months.
Book music lyrics from start to finish.
Gee whiz.
The first draft.
So you must be experienced with what you're doing, because I would have trouble with the first chapter, you know? Yeah,
it all seemed to flow very naturally. We just tried to represent Olive the best way possible. We feel a great sense of responsibility toward her.
And it's wonderful that you're paying a tribute to the history of Broadway, because not everybody really, looks back, right? Because this is in the early 1900s, right?
The show takes place in 1915. People think we're crazy because we're two writers in our 20s writing about 1915. But it's a time period that we're fascinated by, and it's not looked at very often nowadays. It's a sea of pop scores, which I love, and I think there's a place for everything on Broadway, but there's very few original, traditional musicals, and we were very passionate about doing that. And
you're going to be doing a reading in front of producers?
Yeah, we're doing
Tell us about that.
A big industry reading for producers and investors on December 2nd.
And this means Broadway producers and Broadway investors.
Yes.
That's the plan.
On December 2nd, at the new 42nd Street Studios in Times Square, with this lovely cast that you're about to see, and we'll see where we go from there.
That's great, and you have 3 leading ladies. I know Kimberly Faye Greenberg.
Yes, she's our Fanny Bryce.
Yes, she's been a previous guest on the show. I saw her here a few years ago, and I've been a fan. I think I've gone to all of her shows.
Isn't she wonderful?
Yeah, I'm a real fan. And Carolee Carmelo.
Yes, 3-time Tony nominee.
Oh, wow. Makes me nervous. Did you notice all of our sound issues, beforehand? It's like, hey, these guys are pros, make sure it's all running well. And it is, so it's great. So welcome, Carolee, and Jennifer Hope Wills, right? Thank you very much. And you've got a Broadway background, too?
She is the 3rd longest running Christine Daae in The Phantom of the Opera in Broadway history.
Oh, wow.
And she starred opposite Brooke Shields in Wonderful Town, and she's on that recording.
That's great. So I've been in love of...
Check that out.
Too. Wow. Gorgeous. And you guys have all been in acting, your whole life, pretty much?
Yeah. I haven't been doing it my whole life. I went to college for business administration. And then I got into the business after college, so not my whole life, but 30 years or so.
Wow. And I was the opposite. My parents owned and operated their own theater company, so I grew up doing it and kept trying to get out of it. I went to school to try to learn other things, and somehow I kept coming back.
How exciting.
And I guess I'm sort of in that middle ground. I think I started in grade school and moved up.
And what made you decide to follow Fanny Bryce? Because you've done a couple of programs with her.
I've done several incarnations of her. An off-Broadway show. I have my own show now here in Ghostlight as well. It's just something that came about in high school. Literally, a drama teacher said, "You look exactly like her. You should learn. You should learn all about her and maybe play her in Funny Girl." And that's how it all sort of came about.
Isn't that something? How exciting! How was it? How did you select all of these people for your cast? Because this isn't your original cast when you were in the theater festival, except for Kimberly.
Kim is. We did the New York Musical Theater Festival in 2011 at the Signature Theater. We had an amazing cast, but we have it's a new show. We did 2 years of rewrites, so we needed a new cast, and these are just people that we have searched for. I mean, the ensemble in the back there, we had over 1,000 submissions. We saw 200 people and gave 25 callbacks, and now they're standing right there. We really tried to pick the best of the best, the people who would fit the time period, had the right voices. It was very important to us to convey the story in the correct way.
How long does it take to interview 200 people? I mean, is that something that's over a month time?
It depends on how kind you are, I guess.
No, we had 2 days.
2 days, yeah.
Oh, good heavens.
Yeah, and Kim actually, when she found out about the Nymph production, she got in touch with us through Facebook and invited us to see her show, An Evening with Fanny Bryce. And somewhere around the middle of Act 1, we both turned to each other and said, "She's Fanny. That's it."
Great.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just a testament to the fact that, you know, don't give up and don't be afraid to put yourself out there because
you get lucky.
It works.
Sometimes you scout people, sometimes people find you because they've heard of the show. Jen found us.
Wonderful.
You know, and it's a process, casting the show, and you want to pick the right people, but I think we did a really great job, and it was worth it.
Wonderful.
When you hear them perform, you'll see.
Yeah. And when you do this reading in December, and say you find some investors that want to take you on Broadway, what would be the time frame? Would it be another year or 2 year wait?
It could be up to 3. It could be a year and a half.
Yeah.
This is our first foray into the big leagues, I guess, you know, as writers. So, based on what we hear and what we're told, 2 years
Really? Okay.
is our earmark, but we'll see. You know, who knows?
On wood again.
Yeah.
Because you know there are shows that have taken 10 years to get to Broadway or longer.
Wow.
So
It depends on who we get.
It depends on who we get and how fast they want to push. Yeah. If you watch the TV show Smash, it usually doesn't happen that fast. But we're very patient people.
Yes.
Good for you.
And we think the material will speak for itself.
Yeah.
And we want to tell Olive's story.
Well, wonderful. That's great. So, if I could ask the control room to roll in some of the music, so then we can start a performance, so our audience can have a preview of Ghostlight that will be appearing on Broadway, and you first saw it here on Ginger, New York. Yes. So.
Of the theater, it lives in my soul. The roar of the people, knowing that I'm in control. Walking out on a wire, looking down on it all, hoping that I won't crumble, that I don't fall. So welcome to the theater, where you're never alone. And when I'm in the theater, it finally feels like home.
Inside this hallowed place,
into a spotlight. Take a chance on success. After pounding the pavement, hearing the answer is yes. So welcome to the theater. I'm safe and warm and free. And when I'm in the theater, I don't have to be me.
All your strength and all your time, gifts are wasted in your prime. Sacrifices that you make, dreams you sell, you know too well they take.
Come on, give me my moment. I've been waiting too long my life for a chance at the glory, for a chance to belong. The curtain slowly rises, excitement, fear, and strife, and hoping that tonight is the story of my life. And the story continues, as the music plays on forever,
You see those girls with painted lips, they sing a song and shake their hips. But as for me, I'd rather make them laugh. Those pretty girls with lots of clothes cannot compare with a lot of nose. And as for me, I'd rather make them laugh. Romeo and Juliet, so dramatic, but I bet if they cracked a joke, a three, it might have ended differently. And so I say to all who hear, you gotta keep it light, my dear, 'cause after all, I'd rather make them laugh.
we are those girls with painted lips. We sing our song and shake our hips.
And as for me, I'd rather make them laugh.
She'd rather make a laugh. Once upon a time, a woman met a man, and they created music together. Once upon a time, he held her in his arms and told her he would love her forever. But then the music disappeared and showed the woman what she feared. That music used to hide the doubt. That music I can't live without. What do I tell my child? A mother can be weak. A father's not always the hero you'd like him to be. But should I stand by him while choosing not to speak, and mask the painful doubts and lock away the memory? I do not love him except for his smile. But could a superficial grin make all the lies worthwhile? The way he laughs at my jokes, though I never tell them right. That freckle on his cheek that only reads in certain light. Every look and every glance and every single touch. I hate him so. The problem is, I love the man so much. But if I mistrust, the man I meant to trust. I can't forget his smile and that freckle on his face. If I close my eyes, he's easy to erase. And now I realize I can forget every feeling he evokes. But how can I forget the way he laughs at my jokes?
And tears. How exciting, everyone. And so could you introduce who your cast members are again, starting with Carolee?
Well, this is Carolee Carmelo playing Billy Burke. This is Kimberly Faye Greenberg playing Fanny Bryce. This is Jennifer Hope Wills as Doris and Lois, and a lot of wonderful characters, both true to life and not. All right, let me go from left to right here. Okay, this is, everybody want to introduce themselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Raise your hand and introduce yourself.
Sure.
Brad Rakushin.
Hi, I'm Taryn Tonelli.
Jesse Macbeth.
Nathan Gentink. Elliot Lane.
Emily Liddy.
I'm Ryan Rue. My name's Tim Wessel.
Angelia Golden. Abigail Ludroff.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for all your time coming in. I know that you were rehearsing during the week, and I know it's a lot of time to prepare, but you know, people have been in rehearsals prior to this. I mean, I noticed that they're holding a lot of their words and notes.
We'll be holding the books on December 2nd.
Okay, that's during the reading.
But we've only had 2 rehearsals.
Really? Wow.
And this is what they came up with.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, how is this production different from your original one at the Signature Theater?
Well, the Signature Theater production was longer.
Oh, okay.
It's been very much streamlined.
Who critiques you to do all of this?
Well,
the wonderful thing about the Nymph production is we were able to get a sense of when the audience was sort of picking up their programs to look at how many more numbers there were left in the act. You know, seeing it in front of an audience, it's a different show, so you know from that what you need to do.
And of course, critics, you know, they help too.
Do they really?
But
only if they're nice.
One of the main things we did was streamline the character, our main character, Olive, and made her a little bit less of a victim, and focused on making it less of a fairy tale of her life and more of what really happened to her, because it was very tragic.
Yeah, and see, people don't know that part. They just see that, hey, I want to move to New York, and hey, I want to be on Broadway, me. And I somehow got into accounting, and it was too serious for me to like step back in. So I really admire people who are training as professionals and all the work and the criticism and the auditions. Oh my goodness, how do you keep up your self-esteem, you know, with all of that?
You have to have a really, really thick skin.
Yeah. What was a major obstacle in writing this whole production? Because you wrote the music too.
Yeah, we together wrote the music, the lyrics, and the book.
Wow. Do you fight during that? I want this part. I want that part.
Yeah.
We do. We fight. We do nothing but fight. No, it's funny. We have the best of both worlds, knowing each other our whole lives.
That's great.
We argue when it's necessary.
Okay.
When it's absolutely necessary. And we share a brain most of the other time. So there was a number we wrote in counterpoint, and I wrote the more legato section, and he wrote the syncopated section, completely separately. Separate rooms. And when we converged on it, it fit. We didn't have to change anything.
Yeah.
Because I would think at this point that when you're thinking something, you can see that thinking.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that our relationship is fine. I mean, we don't fight because I always win, right? I always get my way, so everything's fine with me.
See, I make him think he gets his way. That's, no, it's a tricky situation sometimes, but we have the benefit of being comfortable with each other.
Great.
We have a shorthand that we've developed over the years. So we don't really have to worry about ego or hurting each other. We can be honest, and that's very necessary.
The ego is the one that's a real killer, you know, in competition and, you know.
Well, writing is a very personal thing, and we could tell each other anything. So it's an experience that I would have given up for anything.
What do you expect your audience, you know, to feel from this, or to derive from it once they see the
Anyone
production?
can relate to this story.
Okay.
Anyone. You don't have to be in the theater. You have to be a human. So it's about death. It's about being remembered, how you want to be remembered. We want people to have conversations after the show. I mean, there's going to the theater and being entertained and big flashy, and that's great. But we want, for this particular show, we want to evoke conversations. And we want people to remember this beautiful girl's story, because she's been so forgotten.
And there's a lot to learn from her, too.
There is a lot to learn from
Well,
her.
congratulations. You got written up in BroadwayWorld.com this week. Yeah, it's an industry publication, so that's fabulous. And I just have a few questions for the ladies over here. Can you tell me what made you be interested in this Ghostlight?
You were involved first, but I've only been working on it for 2 days, as they said.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I find it fascinating to play real life figures. I guess I've had a chance to do it a few times, and Billie Burke I didn't know that much about, except what everybody kind of knows, that she was Glinda in Wizard of Oz and had a movie career, but I didn't really know much about her, and her relationship with Flo Ziegfeld, who she was married to, is really pretty fascinating. So I think that's what attracted me. And great music and great lyrics. You know, these guys are really talented.
And how did you find out about the play Ghostlight?
I actually had read a casting notice for it when I had before Nymph, and I was like, oh, they must have a Fanny Bryce. But I'll give it a shot. And I sent an email.
That's great.
And that's how that all sort of came about.
You got to make things happen.
Well, we try.
And I'd actually had a friend that was in the Nymph production, and I was out of town and didn't get to see it, but I had heard all about it. And sort of the same thing, this time period, and actually, I didn't know much about Olive, but the story of Flo and Billy and all that stuff always really intrigued me. And and she was telling me all about the production, and so I thought it sounded very interesting.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And when you guys, you know, audition for plays, do you go on a lot of auditions? I mean, is it like you get 1 out of 100, or do you get everyone?
I mean, I think most of us can probably attest to that. Our life is more about auditioning than it is about performing a lot of the time. You're always trying to get that next job. At least I don't know in my world, but like, you know.
Any words of advice to audience members, you know, people that are starting out in theater or in school about it?
Wow.
What do you think?
The piece of advice that I got when I first moved to New York that I try to pass on is audition for everything, because you never know. Somebody might be there that sees you for another project that they're working on, and even if you don't feel like you're right for Fanny Bryce or whatever, just go in and do your best work, and it may lead to something that you're not expecting. So it can never hurt. And practicing the audition process is invaluable, because it is a whole other skill set than doing a show. It's another job. So the more practice you get at it, the better you'll be, and the more relaxed, and the better chance of getting another job.
Great. How about you, Kimberly?
Oh, well, I was just saying,
send emails to everybody.
Send emails, yes, exactly. No. I think it's just about...
Write to Hell Prince.
Yeah, exactly. No, I may have done that in the past. It's just about, you know, making sure that you're always at your best, and again, just putting yourself out there. You never know what's going to happen in this business, as long as you're proactive about it.
Yeah, and you're doing 2 other plays right now, too, right?
I am. I'm
very
quite a
skilled at doing 2 plays at the same time.
Yeah, I have my own Fanny show. I'm in a show off Broadway called
Fanny
Lift.
Bryce, that is.
Yeah, yes, not my Fanny.
Oh, Fanny
Bryce. And
just in case.
Thanks for clarifying that.
We are.
I'm in an off Broadway show called Lift, which is was on the West End, and now it's playing here in the city. And just in another concert of another new musical.
Okay, great. Well, continued success. I follow you a lot, so it's wonderful.
I'd just say just learn as much as you can, too.
Wonderful.
You know, always keep learning.
Great.
Because it always changes, you
Oh,
know.
great. Well, we're down to the last 2 minutes of the show. Wow.
That was fast.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that something? It just goes real fast here, and we always like having guests come in. And today was a big show for us, you know, that you have a big group of people, a lot of energy, and it's exciting. And so what's on the horizon for you guys, you know, between now and December? Yeah.
All the preparation, you know.
How do you develop the patience for waiting, you know, for all of this?
When we figure it out, we'll let you know.
I mean,
No idea.
Right now we're really just worrying about this, and we have a couple of other projects we're talking about writing, but nothing concrete yet.
Oh,
yeah, more after the new year.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add? What about pieces of advice from you guys? We're down to what, another minute and a half?
Just expanding on Jen's statement, I wouldn't be where I am right now with this piece if I stopped learning at any point. So I think being a sponge, soaking up everything is paramount to any artist.
Absolutely. Just don't give up on, if you're a writer, don't give up on your show no matter what people tell you. If we had given up, we wouldn't be here today.
Well, I would think it would be very difficult, you know, since there's a lot of pop rock out there on Broadway, and then you're bringing in a period piece.
It is.
Or do you get a lot of criticism about that?
Surprisingly, not.
I don't think so.
No, we haven't.
People are interested in it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not that there's a stigma attached. Hopefully that it's the diamond in the rough. We'll see. I don't know.
We think there's an audience out there who still wants it.
That's great. Yeah, and it's a great education for all of us. I mean, I love learning about the history of everything, and not everything is all accounting and numbers, you know. We'll see you all next week, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, every Friday afternoon for Ginger New York. Thank you, everyone, for coming in and watching the show. Yay!